Hey all, this is a video response to a very interesting video that was pointed to me by Mr. Artist 24, and I really wanted to get into that. The poster of the video is a young woman living in Japan, and she went out to like a convenience store and went to the manga rack, and she picked up a manga for girls, and that has a lot of sexual content in it. And she made a video just sort of talking about that and why that is. Um, One very interesting element is the fact that there's no 18 plus sticker on this manga, and there's a lot of sexual material. Now, I don't know exactly what sexual material this is in terms of how explicit it is. It could be like Ikitosen, where you see a panel of a girl topless from the waist up, and she's arching her back. You know, it's very clear what's going on, stuff like that. So this could be one of those things where these are sexual stories about relationships, relationships that are sexual, as opposed to just outright porn stars. I don't know, but that is interesting that you get stuff that is highly sexual, available for a kid could go in and buy that. Now she starts talking, and this is where it gets really interesting, about sort of, I would say, romantic and sexual politics in Japan, in the sense that if you see a boy reading sexually explicit manga on a train, he'll be seen as sort of a loser or a pervert or whatever. You won't catch a girl doing that. But judging by the number of manga this woman saw in the store, girls seem to be buying just as much sexual manga as guys are. They're just reading it in private. So that's interesting, that girls are into this stuff too. Now, of course, there's a big myth that guys have this rabid sex drive and women basically don't. Girls have sex drives too, just to get that out of the way. But it is interesting that there's definitely a large market for this in Japan. Now, the other side is that she said public displays of affection in Japan are more muted than they are in America. And this is something that I had kind of heard and gotten a sense of, but hadn't really seen a confirmation of from someone, that people won't snog in public the way they will in the West. Moreover, there's less sex on television. The female characters don't dress as sexily. There are fewer direct sexual situations in the TV shows over there. There's some, but not as much as in American shows, for example. So she's wondering if that has something to do with it. And I don't know. I'm not Japanese, and I've spent like no time in Japan, so I don't know. But it is an interesting theory, and it is certainly possible that girls are using this to explore relationships and explore sexuality. I mean, one of the really interesting things is that, if these stories are exploring relationships that are sexual, maybe girls are using that to explore relationships. I don't know. Maybe girls are feeling kind of dissatisfied with the fact that sexuality is kind of muted in Japan. And so they want more physical relationships. They're not necessarily sexually physical, but just more kissing, more touching, things like that. I don't know. And I mean, that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It could be they're just more exposed to that through exposure to Western stuff, and they feel that that's normal, which isn't necessarily normal. It's just a different cultural context. So maybe this manga is kind of that outlet. Now, of course, that's not a conscious thing. It's not that the girls are saying, I'm going to learn more about relationships by reading sexy manga. But maybe that is a factor. Who knows? It certainly does kind of fit that that's going on. And it really raises the interesting question, what are people looking for and finding in these manga that they're not getting in real life? Now, that's kind of a double-edged sword of a question, because I could be a fan of epic fantasy. People are asking, well, why do you read that? What do you get out of that? Big, epic, soaring stories. I just get excited by that. it could be I'm just wired for that kind of stuff. So, that's fine. And I mean, girls have sex drives too. So, it could be that's just something that's fun for them, something they just want to read, and not necessarily just in a pure sexual outlet sense, but just that's part of life. So who knows? It's a very interesting question, though, and I'd like you to give me your comments on that. See what you think. This is a very open-ended question. There's no right or wrong answer. Just something to think about and talk about and debate about. And be careful about, because we don't know much about that culture. So got to be humble here. But it is interesting to think about. So please let me know what you think. And thanks for watching.